Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where and when you're watching this. But today we're going to talk a bit about AI and particularly how it can help life in the nonprofit world. We intended to do this with Microsoft, and Microsoft has some excellent content. Big thing to take away to know from that is that they actually have a lot of focus. They have some really interesting programs that support the nonprofit organizations, including some really attractive licensing propositions, things like that, to make it easy to use their technology. But unfortunately, Brian had a conflict today, so we're going to proceed along without him. But we thank him for getting us this far, and we can certainly follow up later. So my name's Todd Johnson, and so I am Vice President North America for Farmers Pro. I'll tell you a bit more about what who we are in a minute. I'm based here in Chicago, and my colleague and AI expert is Phil, and Phil is across the pond. And so, Phil, I'll let you give a little background on yourself here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Phil Kameen. I'm a solution architect at Formers Pro, and I've been in the sort of Dynamics workspace for the last 15 years, and I've been in IT since 96. So yeah, I've been around a little while.
Yep, absolutely. And then, yeah, you are absolutely our AI expert, which I think you get a little more detail on that. Although that will be, you'll get to experience that firsthand. And then, so you may not have heard of us. Things to know about Formers Pro. So we are certainly a Microsoft partner. That is the technology stack that we help our clients with. We work the entire product stack. You don't have to know what that means. The easy, answer is, we help our clients understand how to get the most out of Microsoft technology. And we certainly have a sweet spot with nonprofits. We work with a number of different clients, number of different sectors. We really like working in the nonprofit space. We've got some really excellent case studies and examples of where we can help the nonprofits. It's really appealing to be able to take that technology stack, these big enterprise companies use, and help nonprofits and see what they do with it. The impact on that is pretty impressive. So we really like doing that. We're about 12 years old. We're based in the UK. Company's growing quickly. We recently got some recognition for that, which we're kind of proud of. And we're active here in the US as well as the UK. And so you get to hear you get to hear my a little bit maybe my Chicago accent. Phil has a slightly different accent. The intercontinental kind of approach this. And so a little bit of background on us, and then here why don't we jump into what we're going to talk about today, and then I'll let Phil do all the heavy lifting here. So we want to give you a little bit of overview on AI, a little bit of history, how we got here. It's one of those things that seems like it just popped up overnight. That's not quite the case, but certainly got a lot of attention these days. Show you a bit how Microsoft is bringing all this together. So they have this concept called Copilot, which has a lot of capabilities that we're talking about. And then, we really want to show some examples of where you could actually use it. This isn't just, forward-looking science fiction. This is, some really interesting examples, I think, of where it can be helpful today. Full disclosure, we used AI to help put together this presentation. So you'll see some examples of that, and you'll see some places where it's a little rough around the edges, and that's okay. That's just part of where the tool set is, and that's part of the story here. And we want to make sure that you get a chance to see it as well. So Phil's got a stack of demos. Fingers crossed that all the demo planets are in alignment for us, and that all works. But give you some real time examples of what the tool set could do. Phil, I'll get out of the way and let you start our journey here.
Great, thanks, Todd. Yeah, I think let's dive straight in, and it's sort of from the bottom up. What is artificial intelligence? And I think originally I stole this from a number of other slide decks when I was kind of discussing, is artificial intelligence, is it really intelligent? And it's an interesting viewpoint. I sit on the fence to an extent because it's kind of what I'm paid to do. But there are days I think, well, artificial intelligence isn't really that smart, and then it does a couple of things, including what Copilot's done, in search and things for me before, where I thought, wow, that would have taken me, an hour to drill through a whole bunch of things in Google, for example, and it's just brought it straight to the surface. So there's a lot of power there. Like the slide says, there's lots of bits of artificial intelligence. It's not just one thing. It's a whole cohesion of technologies and things that have been around for a long time. And sort of, is it a new idea? No, not at all. So Alan Turing is a hugely famous scientist, mathematician, particularly in my neck of the woods. I live near Milton Keynes, and that's very close to Bletchley Park. And Bletchley Park was where some of the first sort of AI models and things really were being put together, and in terms of the technologies and things they were using there to, to fight against Germany in World War II. Turing is, renowned as the father of AI. His very famous Turing test, which is like, can you tell the difference between a machine and a person if you've just got a text window and you're talking to them? And I think there's been some amazing examples of that. Skipping past we're going to talk a little bit about artificial neural networks. There's going to be a few buzzwords in this early bit. Don't worry about them too much. I'm not going to hang on to them too much. But I think what we're trying to build here is that AI has been around for a long time, and a lot of the big items that drive a lot of things like Copilot and OpenAI and ChatGPT and all these other GPT models that are around now is based on technologies and ideas that have been around since post World War II. The first chatbot, 1966, a very interesting character from MIT called Jeffrey Weizenbaum. If you Google him, you get a cliche of what a mad professor looks like, really. He created this chatbot, and bemusingly enough, was sort of had written, I had not realized that in extremely short exposures to a relatively simple computer program could induce powerful delusional thinking in quite normal people. So he was very much like, okay, it's not intelligent, but it can present itself as intelligent. Like a lot of equipment you see these days. It's very smart. Fast forward a bit to 1984, the AI winter there. So AI had promised so much all the way through the 50s and the 60s. And then there came this point where they discovered that it kind of had reached a point in terms of how big the domains it could cover were. And when I talk about domains, I mean, sort of the knowledge domains, and the technology as well. And you think back to 1984 and the type of, computer equipment people were using back then. It's still a lot of mainframes and everything else. Pretty slow equipment, compared to what obviously you carry around in your back pocket these days on is immensely fast, equipment. 1997, Deep Blue defeats Garry Kasparov. That was a big thing in my household. My dad was a chess player, and he was like, "Wow, this is the most amazing thing. AI is going to be capable of doing great things." And and that's we're approaching 30 years ago, and it's only just now we seem to have sort of gone over the hump of where technology can take us. And there's a great link there, and I think I might put it in the chat later. There's the history of artificial intelligence. I could talk about it all day, but it'd be really boring for you all. So a bit more ancient history. In 1995, a handsome young man with a lot more hair than I currently have did an MSc in artificial intelligence at Cranfield University. Again, not a million miles from where I am now. I'd done artificial intelligence in my bachelor's degree. I did electrical engineering, electronics, and discovered I wasn't very good at the electronic side, really, and so fell into software. Fascinated by neural networks, sort of the idea that, you're reproducing, a brain in a computer almost. It's not really what it is, but it's a pretty good idea in terms of how you'd like to think about it. And I decided, okay, well, great. If you can train something, that's great, but it's a bit of a black box. And why can you not then interrogate the black box and try and work out how it's coming up with these ideas? And that's still something I think that you'll see certainly from Microsoft and a lot of other big organizations, and even sort of government these days. They're keen to point out that AI is, it's not a black box. It's not terrifying. It's something that you control. And even Copilot's name, I think, is a big indicator of Microsoft's direction in terms of it's doing a chunk of the work for sure, but it is the co-pilot and you are the pilot. And I think we'll see that when we get through to some of the demos and stuff at the end. We've had probably enough techie buzzwords. I'll try not to use too many of them again, but we'll see. And this is where AI is, moved forwards in such a big way. You've got all these fantastic bits of equipment out in the cloud, and if you want a machine, you just click your fingers and it's there. And so that's what's enabled the new kid on the block, really. Only in the last sort of 2 or 3 years, as OpenAPI been able to build the underlying large language models. And so These are artificial neural networks. Sorry about the buzzwords again. And what they're doing is they're training them on text, and like it says there, about 45 terabytes, which is not a great deal of data by modern standards, really. And what the GPT does is that you ask it a question and it starts stringing together words, and and then it looks at the model and it goes, okay, what's the next most obvious word or selected or word that should appear after this amongst all the data that I've looked at previously, and it starts putting these words together. And there's an interesting screenshot there from 2016's Westworld, where one of the AI realizes that they are just an AI and that this machine is telling them what they're saying before they can actually say it. That leads to a few things in terms of how it behaves and the kind of things that you get out of a GPT. And, you know, is it, you always get a thumbs up or a thumbs down at the end of any kind of GPT output, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to understand that has the model, does it need tweaking in some kind of way? Not everything you get out of a GPT AI is 100%. In fact, on a lot of AI type models, thinking about vision and speech recognition, but they certainly get very close. And at scale, and that's the important thing, they work quite well. So I threw in there the 1,000 monkeys, if you like, in a room. Would they eventually churn out Shakespeare? Um, and I think that was initially when I started down the GPT, looking at it, thinking, okay, it's not that smart. But what it doesn't do, what it might not be necessarily smart at, it's certainly very good at pulling things together contextually. And I think that's kind of the big takeaway I think we're going to see in a lot of these demos, is that Copilot strings together lots of stuff you already have, and it meshes it beautifully together, and then allows you to make jumps from one to another with the assistance of the AI, which is very powerful. There's lots of product names here, and the product names are always changing at Microsoft. So I'll stick at the very high level. We've got Dynamics 365, which is what Formus Pro, what we put together generally. We build a lot of systems based on this. It's got a big database underneath that's referred to as Dataverse, and it's got lots of clever automation that happens in that, and scaling and lots of other power. And what also linked up to that is the idea of a number of connectors that allow you to talk to other systems, and that's called Power Automate. And we'll mention a little bit about that later. But it's one of the very powerful tools that allows us to bring together some of the AI. Dynamics marketing, which is now referred to as customer insights journeys. So marketing automation, build up dynamic segments, and I've written here AI sprinkles. So there's little bits of pieces where Dynamics marketing has been around for a while now, but now sort of the contextual glue of AI helps to bring it, make it smarter and make life easier for you as a user. It means you can come in, and instead of having to learn lots of stuff about the system, you can just ask the question or say, I want this, and it'll work it out. And we'll see some demos of that too. And we've also got this great thing, customer insights data. I'm not going to be demoing this today, but it's a big analytical tool that's related and part of the family, if you like. Copilot. So there's lots of different copilots out there. Copilots for PowerPoint, for Word, for Excel. You've probably seen lots of adverts for different chat GPTs and lots of AIs all promising different things. I'm going to show you a little bit today about how you might build your own Copilot. It used to be referred to as a chatbot, and get it to look at your own data and behave and work just within that data. We've got some prediction models, which are quite powerful tools in terms of how you can build up that data, and then how we use that potentially within your dynamic system. We got a little bit about Power Automate I mentioned, and at the end we're going to talk about Copilot for 365 and give you a good demo on that one. So how does it all work? I did have a really complicated slide here originally with lots of arrows and lots of numbers and stuff. And Todd looked at me and went, no, Phil, we can't do this. But then, what was great about that slide, I think, is that it showed that how the behavior of Copilot works in terms of it's able to when you buy when you purchase the license within 365, it's able to look down into your 365 data, and I mean your emails, your meetings, and all that kind of stuff, and it's able to analyze those. And when you make queries, it's able to take that data and surface it to you. It does that in a really clever way. At no point throughout when the Copilot is working, at no point does it stop and it write down any of this data. It's not being persisted anywhere, and so it makes it super super secure. And this is another thing that Microsoft have pushed really hard for in terms of it's doing this work and it's not setting you up or recording all this information anywhere. All that's happening in terms of there is a little bit of secret sauce I'm going to talk about in just a second, but what it does is it's able to look at all of that data and it's able to apply a little bit of additional filtering on it before it goes to the large language model. That's that big artificial neural network. And then it's going to bring that data back and then it's going to adjust it ever so slightly. So there's it's more than just ChatGPT, I guess. And a semantic index is like it says there. What it is it stays within your domain, so within your tenant. So when you're at Microsoft, that means that none of your data is again leaving your boundaries before it goes out and talks to this large language model. And then what it does is every time that you ask a question of your Copilot, it it records again safely back in your tenant this information about you, and it records them as ideas. And so it's not just going, okay, Phil likes to talk about tea because he's British. It's also, the ideas. Phil likes sweet things, and he might like tea. So whenever we know that we're talking to the AI, it's going to it'll be able to adjust the answers based upon that level of information. So it's a really strong way of sitting on top of all of the search that's going on when it's talking to the Microsoft Graph, which is the doorway into your emails and your documents and your meetings and everything. But it's able to apply this additional level of filtering on it, and that's a very very powerful tool. So yeah, we've done all the techie bit there. I think I've used lots of buzzwords. And yeah, I'll mark everyone on the end. I'll send out a quiz and see how you do. No, I'm kidding. Don't worry about that. But if we're taking away anything from all of this, sort of on the technical side, is that your AI, your co-pilots need data. They're sort of, if they're going to work things out, they need to have a certain amount of information to work on. They're not geniuses out of the box, and the more data you can give them, the better. So this plays very nicely to sort of where Formus Pro work in terms of, I mentioned the Dataverse earlier. This means of instead of everything being captured in lots of spreadsheets listed across your building, we bring it together generally inside of a single system, and then once we've got this data, we can do a lot of powerful things with it. Once we've got all this data, then we can take the AI and your business data and your business knowledge as well, remembering it's just the co-pilot, right? And then we can try and solve some of your business problems.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so there's a lot of parts there, but we thought it'd be good to show some examples of where you might use this. And so this is admittedly a bit of a contrived example, but hopefully it will give you a little bit of context, have a little fun with it. So anyone, if you've ever seen a Microsoft demo before, they'll talk about this fictional company called Contoso. Today we're going to talk about Contoso Cares, everybody's favorite charitable organization making the world a better place. And kind of the idea is here, hey, we're expanding to a new city. Hey, I'm kind of fond of Chicago, so you might see that in the background there. And I'll kind of play the role of development director Dan. So hey, I'm starting this new local chapter. I've got all this work to do. Is there a way that AI can help? And by the way, AI helped us create that picture there. which is pretty good. That's a first try. And again, we'll emphasize that it helps you get started. It's pretty, it's pretty correct. We didn't quite get the name spelled right. If we take it a little more time and tweak it, then we'd actually get that correct. But we want to show you an example too of, hey, it is it is a tool. It's how you use the tool, and so you still, you're still in control, and you still have some rough edges, here and there, that you may see. So with that, so how do we, and one of the first things I got to do is get introduced to community here. So we had this event. This idea is that, we are able to go out and start to tell people about Contoso Cares. And again, this visual, we actually, the AI actually got our name correct. But the end result is, I had volunteers, some of my initial team out there signing up people interested, literally with clipboards, right? And so, say I've got, literally I have a stack of paper. The good news is I have lots of people that are interested and we want to be able to reach out to. The bad news is, I have to go type all those things in, or I mean, it's really, a big manual effort to deal with that. So Phil, I'm hoping, that you have an AI solution that can make that a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of, so we mentioned before the concepts of automation and things like that within AI. And, if you can do this at scale, and I think sort of that leans back into, sort of talking about where AI has come from and why it's been able to sort of suddenly leap to the fore in this way that it has over the last sort of 5 years, is because suddenly computing is available at huge scale very, very cheaply. And up until then, sort of up before about 5 years ago, that just didn't happen. And so now we're able to go and do something, and hopefully we can jump through to a reasonable example of automation. So we've got an example here where we've got a number of forms, and you can see that they come in all sorts of shapes. They're slightly wonky. They've been scanned in a little bit strangely, and someone's left a cup of tea on it or something like that. And we've got that ring mark there. And the AI is able to, using one of the many different technologies it's got at its hands, it's able to go, okay, I'm able to read this document. So there's natural language processing, there's vision processing in there. And it's able to take that data and just give you the raw data. So that minimal section in the middle of the screen there, the extracted information. And over on the right-hand side, we come across this automation. And so we're able to take all this data and, one of the things with AI is able to deal with huge volumes of data now, and too much for a human to deal with. You could get a bunch of, volunteers in maybe then to try and double key all this information. There's going to be a lot of spelling mistakes and things in there. Where the AI, we've got something on the right there. This is a Power Automate screen, and where we're able to take all of those documents and just loop through them and go, okay, I want that little bit of text, and I'm going to load up my system. And so, for Contoso Cares, we're going to get all this great lead information, and hopefully at a quite, much quicker, and at a means of much, much more accurately done than if we'd asked a bunch of students or something like that to do it. And that's hopefully that takes Contoso Cares, and we've given you a lot of lead information there, Todd.
No, that's great. So hey, that's a good start. So now I have a new problem, right? So now I have all this information, I have all this context info. We're making some progress here in Chicago. So we're actually opening our local branch. We're gonna have a little bit of a grand opening event to everybody in and get everybody excited about what we're doing here. We need to get the word out on that, and then I need to be able to sort of track, who's coming, who's not, and so on and so forth. So that seems like a lot of work as well. I'm sure I could do that manually, but I'm thinking you may have a thought or two on how I could automate that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to, I mentioned a couple of tools earlier in terms of marketing tools. So Dynamics being sort of what it is, this big database underneath, we can run all sorts of rules and everything on this data. And one of the things, sort of that's built on top of all of this is the ability to send out emails and things at scale. And so what was Dynamics marketing? And this is an old system. It's still got the old name on it. This is the customer journeys, as it's now called. We can start building you nice emails. And instead of having to come up with all the words and the pictures for these emails, we can ask an AI to do it. So let's just start, and we're going to do a quick email here. it's a Dynamics marketing's been around probably 2015-ish, an early version of it. It started. It's a million times slicker than it was back in the day. And my computer's having a crawl, but we've got a number of email templates that you already exist in the system. I'm going to ignore those, even though lots of them are really nice out of the box, nice pictures and what have you, because I want to put my own stamp on this. So I was going to let that load, but it's taking its time. So I'm going to skip that and we're going to come straight into doing an email. So we're looking for our Copilot logo over here, and let's click on that. And we get some. Oh, great. There's an event invitation, which is exactly what Todd's looking for. So let's do that. And we've got some space here to put in some ideas. So we are Contoso Cares and limited spots available. And I'm going to say, I want you guys to visit the office. And I'll give it an exclamation mark. And I'm casual. I'm going to try and be engaged. And let's get some ideas. So that's going to go away, and it's going to give me three versions of some text based upon those ideas. You can add additional stuff in. It's got some stuff with a company name in there, and I think we're going to use this one. Here we go. And we'll add that there. And great, I've got some text, and it's a bit plain, so let's put in a picture. And my image is going to go in there. I'm going to add an image. Ooh, we got some suggested images coming up. And it's the Contoso Cares one I want because that's from my library. Okay. And I can go away and I can save and I can test send and do all the good stuff that you do with marketing systems on this one and make sure that I'm happy. Maybe go away and do some A/B testing and modify them and all that kind of stuff. But we're not going to do that quite for this demo. That's really more of a marketing demo. And so once we've got these emails, let's we've done our demo.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
hand back
that's
to Todd.
no, it's really slick. And the thing I love about that is that is it perfect? And I'm never going to be in a scenario where I'm going to go, ask Copilot do something, go click and done. That's not the idea here. But does it get me started? Does it get me maybe 80% of the way there? Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting if you have it from that approach it from that context. So does it speed? Does it have potential to really speed up things in my daily life? Yeah, absolutely. So all
Yeah, and
right, so now
it's sorry, I was just going to butt in there, but there is a version, I think, come due Q3 this year of a new version of marketing with upgrades to that Copilot stuff, and it takes it to the next level in terms of you can actually create images and things on the fly without even leaving the marketing tool.
mm,
Whereas at the moment we've created these marketing tools within the images within Copilot. It's we'll look back on this demo, I think, in 6 months' time and go, oh wow, sort of it's so much better now. And it's always improving, isn't it, Todd?
yeah, it's sort of amazing. Yeah, how quickly it's gotten here and how quickly it continues to advance. So now point, so I now have a group of interested parties that have registered, and so I might want to reach out to them and send a reminder. And also I have people I haven't registered. I'm getting close to the event. Maybe I want to send one more outreach to them. But now I'm at a point where I have these different contexts, but I want to possibly message and do outreach to them differently depending on interaction that I've already had. So I'm hoping there's an easy way to sort of divide and conquer and do that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get the demo going for that then. So we had the email, and so what I've already have a number of lists which I put together. If I do create segments, and in Dynamics Marketing, I get an opportunity to use Copilot again, but I've got some in the means of for the means of time. Sort of, I'm going to cut ahead a little bit, and we're going to go and look at journeys. And so I'm going to create a new journey based upon Todd's idea, and I'm just going to say, okay, I need to send a reminder to the segment called local attendees. And we're going to hit the button. Oh, the demo gremlin has appeared. Let's see that we can knock him off his perch. Something done twice. Okay, third time's a charm, I'm hoping. There we go. So yeah, demo's not a demo without it going wrong. So it started building up a journey for me. So it's going to local attendees and it's going to send them an email called reminder, and that's great. And then I suddenly think to myself, hold on, I don't want to send it to that segment. I want to send it to another segment. And so context, here we go. One of the great things. So I don't have to say start from scratch. I just ask it to change. So change the segment to the local attendees registered, and there we go. And we've got our new journey, and we can hit the create button. And we can go ahead and we can use that journey and run through it. I'm not going to do that straight away because that's all dynamics marketing stuff, which is great, but it's certainly worth another demo at some point. Let's discard those changes. And then what I wanted to do is send another reminder email to the people who are local, but they haven't registered yet. Why wouldn't they register? So let's see if the demo gremlin doesn't want to hang around today. So great. So local attendees not registered is our journey. That's brilliant. And it's sending an email called reminder to register, which is great. And then I think to myself, well, hang on, that's not the email I put together. It was a different email. To change the email to a volunteer email. And great, sort of, it's going to go ahead and we're going to see reminder to register is going to disappear. And we've got our volunteer email. And we can hit create journey and we can go from there. Okay. And that's the creation of journeys, which I think Todd answers very nicely what you were
Yeah.
after.
It does. That's very slick, and we have thousands of contacts in there. The fact that I can just ask it a question in sort of natural language and it'll do that is pretty impressive. So that's fantastic. Yeah, and that little glitch there that just proves we're doing it live, right? So no no sort of smoke and mirrors here. That it is the real tool set. So Phil, that was awesome. So we had our event, huge turnout, was fantastic. And so now, as a result, we've got all these people interested in this. And so, but they have more questions. They want to
Right,
know exactly what we do. They want to know how they can support us. They want to, who talk to for follow up. All that info is on our website. I don't have a
right.
big team to be answering emails, answering, phone calls, things like that. So I'm hoping there's a way we can, build something to make it easier for all these people to find this information about us in a self-service sort of way.
Yeah, spot on. So yeah, this is a quick slide about stakeholder service. Uh, freeing up employees to handle more of the more complicated things. So the simple stuff. So what we're talking about is bots. So we've got a nice little bot demo. And this is a video, unfortunately, and one I put together for a similar chat not long ago, about a month ago. And already, funnily enough, there's bits and pieces in here which are slightly out of date. And they're not out of date in terms of, oh my goodness, it won't work. Out of date in terms of it's been improved already. And I'll as I talk you through this, we'll see what the differences are. So we start up with yeah, we're going to get a bot and we're going to point it at our website. And I'm used as an example, the ICO website in the UK. It's a big website. It's got lots of stuff. It does have search on it, but you've got to drill through all of this stuff, and there's a lot in there. So I've trained the Copilot on this, and now I'm asking it a question. What is a DPIA? I don't even know what a DPIA stands for, by the way, but it's going to tell me data protection impact assessment. And then, because it's got context now of what I'm asking for, I say, how do I do that? And so there's no, how do I do a DPIA fresh question each time? Your bot's handling it for you. And that's, sort of this stuff has been improved and improved even over the last couple of months. So we've also got some kind of integration tools and stuff here where um, you know, uh, you can you got the concept of a plugin where you can get your AI bot to talk to an API, and an API is application programming interface. But the idea is Just Giving, for example, is a huge website used in the UK volunteers, and so and donations. And so, you could you could get your AI to point directly towards Just Giving, and then uh, utilizing sort of the tools within here, we can actually start making direct requests to that API without having to know any programming or anything like that. There's a little bit of work that we do, obviously, at the Formus end, but it does immense things. So the example here, what it's doing is it's instead of using the Just Giving API, which is a monster, by the way, it's just pointing at a weather API, and the weather API, we've asked it what the weather is, and it's come up and it's told me what the weather was like in January in the UK, and I imagine it's very similar to what it's like in Chicago. In fact, probably a bit warmer than Chicago in January. But so yeah, let's skip past that. So yeah, I think hopefully that's given you a bot, Todd.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, and the thing I love about that is that I didn't have to go build a new website. I mean, this sits on top of all the information I already have, and just makes all of it more accessible, right? And so given that I've got a small team and all that, that's really an interesting option. So now we're gonna fast forward a little bit. We're gonna sort of look in the future a little bit. So yeah, we've been very successful here in Chicago. Now I have some history with some of the supporters and donations that we've gotten. But hey, that's the lifeblood that keeps this organization going. So I want to make sure that are there patterns happening from my donors, and then especially are there any donors that we got their attention, maybe I don't have their attention anymore. So I'm hoping we can apply some intelligence of some sort to help get better at that, as opposed to just going through acres of Excel spreadsheets here.
Oh, no one likes spreadsheets. Yeah, so I think what we can do, we've got a good demo here where we can show we've got a lot of data, and this purple front end thing, it doesn't have to be purple, but this is a Dynamics stroke Power Apps application, and it's all this data is stored in this big Dataverse database thing I mentioned earlier. I'll get it running actually. And we can see there's a lot of data here. There's a little number there says 5,000 plus rows. And I think in the video I was scrolling just to illustrate it's not just completely smoke and mirrors here. And what we're going to do is we've got this churn data, and what I'll be doing is I'm going to build a model based on this churn data. And so what that means is basically I'm going to tell the model these are all my inputs, and so it's got all this data. And then I'm going to say you've got already the likelihood of churn from this historical data. So we've got an example there on the screen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select that model, and we're going to choose these columns. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say to it, okay, when you're finished, I want this model, and I'm going to be able to throw any new data at it. So any new customers that come along, I've got their information, and I'm going to be able to spit out the end how likely it is that they're going to churn based upon obviously our historical data. And so it's important we've got a lot of data in the background. So there's thousands of rows. And then this is going to give me my AI model. And there it is. It's a prediction model. And the great thing about it, it's all part of this Power Automate family, is that we're going to be able to see that we can then use that within these flows that we store within our Dataverse. So I can go ahead and I can build business applications, particularly around for not-for-profit, and wire it up to all of this custom data. And because it's been built and trained on your data with, obviously relatively, once you understand your data, and that's that important thing again. I think we're coming back to the idea that, this is Copilot. It sits and it lives and it breathes on your data, that we can then utilize your business data to look forwards into the future. And I think that's immensely powerful. That's
Excellent.
Here we go.
Okay, now that's very exciting. Yeah, that's going to save us a lot of work and make sure we don't miss any any sort of trends in our donor data that are going to be very important to us. So, but now I'm hoping you've helped me so much already. But every day, guess what? I'm writing documents. I'm trying to summarize, a meeting. I got to create a PowerPoint. These are things I do every day that are a necessary part of what I do. But is there a way I can get some help with that and save some time on some of these tasks as well?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And let's. I think first things got a Word. So let me. I did have Word. Oh, I did have Word. Where's Word gone to? I seem to have closed my Word. Let's see. So I got a blank document, and I'm gonna something. Let's go with a proposal, because a proposal is, in anybody's business is quite hard work. It's so why not get the AI to generate a draft for you? And so this is going to, something you might want to do. You need to approach your boss and say, we need to spend more money on analyzing the data. We want to be forwards looking, right? Um, and so great, this can generate it. Now, if you don't like the kind of things it's coming out with, you can then say to it, okay, I want you to stop and I want you to make it a bit more formal. So, you know, we can get, is this good data that it's giving me? Do I want to keep this? Do I want to have another go at it? So we'll throw it away and it'll come back again and give me another version of it. And so, all that heavy lifting that you have to do whenever you sort of create any documents, the AI is going to give you that leg up so that you're able to sort of get a little bit ahead of it. So that's Word. When we're working in teams, um, uh, we've got to let's jump into Teams here. I had a meeting the other day with Todd, and I couldn't remember what we were talking about. So let's see if the AI can help me there. And so luckily we had the transcript on, and we go to the Copilot, and we say, what were we talking about? Oh, there's one we got earlier actually, but so we've got the information already that the call was in. And so I don't have to, it's not that I don't have to remember anything, but certainly it pulls out a lot of the key items and things that we were talking about. So I can then take that information and I can come along to PowerPoint, and let's go into PowerPoint.
And I will verify that was the live demo of the meeting that Phil and I had. I think it was last Friday actually, and it's
Yeah,
it's it's
let's
it's
see.
it's, it's amazingly accurate. Although
Scarily accurate sometimes.
if you have action items, if you have takeaways that you signed up for, it knows. So which is good and bad, I think, but it works really well at that.
Yeah. Oh, it's being funny again. So let's see. Here we go. We support document transport. Okay, let's just try that. See whether or not we get something. Okay. So yeah, it is a live demo, so sometimes we get a bit clunky. But what's fabulous about this is that okay, that is not what I wanted. I typed exactly the. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's hopefully. So what's super impressive about this is eventually when it works is that not just does it give you bullet points or any kind of nonsense like that, it gives you. Okay, what I'd like to show you is that it gives you the images and everything else that it puts together as it goes. and generates a presentation complete with like finishing slides that give you a conclusion. And a conclusion generally, in a lot of the examples, obviously not today, that makes sense. I'll try one last time and then we'll.
Yeah, I'm thinking we should have saved the version we did earlier
Yeah,
because
we should have,
because
shouldn't we?
earlier today it was spectacular. So
Yeah. Yeah, and this points back to sort of what we were talking about earlier. This stuff is generated real time, so it's going through. It's not recording it anywhere or anything like that. So you know, you do get occasionally these bumps in the road. And there we go.
there it is.
Okay. And so it's come up with nice images that generally make sense about what we're talking about, the introductions. You know, we were talking about AI, and so it's come up with a nice AI image. And then it's finished up with a slide that kind of makes sense as well in terms of, you know, I can say to it, okay, add a conclusion slide. And we're going to see how good it is with spelling as well, because my spelling's lousy. Um, uh, it's not just the slide. We've also got notes down here as well. Um, that's a bit of a clunky conclusion. I think I'd maybe ask for it to do it again. But hopefully you're getting the gist of what we're doing here. So now we've looked at that, and now we're going to jump into Copilot for the web. And also, you know, it's hopefully more than just a one-trick pony. We're going to let's start with a PDF, I think. Oh no, let's do the LinkedIn post. Actually, that's a slightly more fun one. So we're in Copilot. Over here, it's worth noting we've got work and web, and they're kind of two sides of the coin, two very different sides of the coin. The work side of things, it's linked now directly into my the MS graph, and it's using that semantic index I talked about earlier, and it's able to look at my meetings, everything I just did in that previous slide. Very, very similar. I can say, let's look for any of my meetings with Todd, and it'll tell me about my meetings with Todd. But what I'm going to ask it to do is I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to say, write me a LinkedIn post. And so, it's already remembered what I was talking about. So when I did this earlier, I was like, we need to make this a bit more fun. Let's do it with a pirate tone. Um, and seeing as it's no longer Speak Like a Pirate Day, which is a real thing, um, let's make it Talk Like a Cowboy. So obviously from a business perspective, yeah, you don't want to talk like a cowboy. Well, maybe you do, I don't know. Um, but the point is that it's able to, you know, put a persona onto otherwise relatively dull topics. And so again, it's a great start. I do like Yippee-ki-yay, that's fantastic. And a lot cleaner than the Die Hard version, so amazing there. So yeah, very, very powerful stuff to be able to use in terms of taking you that section forwards. And always we have up here, we've got this protected thing. It's something that Microsoft hammer home quite hard actually. And again, it's all about making sure that when you're using this AI, at no point are you thinking to yourself, hold on, my data's going anywhere it shouldn't be going. Because it's obviously been a real issue. Some people see that as an issue in the past.
Which I don't know if people cut, even has appropriate emojis in there too, by the way. He a pirate or a cowboy, and it's smart enough to do that, right? And so, and obviously, yeah, that's a bit of a fun example. You can change the tone. You can ask it to, to do it with different, with different concepts, depending on what you're doing. So,
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And across a lot of the tools, you can ask it to do that. So you can be in PowerPoint, you can say, make this cowboy themed, and you'll get a cowboy themed PowerPoint presentation, for example. Um, so here's a good one. This is a big old document, you know, pages and pages of stuff about Azure for architects. So lots of boring technical stuff. And what I want to do is I want to ask it to generate a document summary. So what it's going to do is it's going to go through this, and hopefully we're going to get a summary. So at the moment we've got analyzing your page. I want it to do the whole document. Did have a part one of the document. Okay. It's not quite what I was after, but the point is you can get a huge PDF document and you can throw it at Copilot and ask Copilot to give you a breakdown of it, a summary, and you will get that. And then you can leap off of those. And it's a great way of taking a big document like this, which can be by itself quite unwieldy, and drilling down into the actually the details of it. So I
Yeah,
think
and we see things like this all the time, by the way. And I think in the nonprofit world, if you need to respond to, a particular grant submission process, or you've got a request for proposal, things like that, and so there can be these long, complex documents, that you need to pay attention to the details. It can be hard to pull out those details, and sometimes you just want, let me have a summary so I can sure understand what I'm getting into here. This does it very quickly. So yeah, this is a 700-page document. You have it, just sort of in an instant, giving you some highlights on. Mhm.
yeah. So, and also another example of summarization. So this time we got a video, and it's one of my. I'm a petrol head, so I'm always watching videos like this and going, oh, should I buy myself a 200,000 pound car? The answer is no, but summarize the video for me. So, you can have a 30-minute long, 40-minute long, 50-minute long video. It can have an awful lot of stuff in it, and um, Copilot's going to go in through the video. It's going to take effectively the transcript, and it's going to start detailing bits and what's actually going on in the video, and pulling out interesting facts and everything from it. So initially, this is a video summary, so there's a fair bit to go through there. Let's stop it there, and we're going to say to it instead, do something a bit more useful for me. I'm only interested in the highlights, and chart me the comparison of the two vehicles. So again, this contextual thing comes into play. I haven't told it what the two vehicles are or anything like that. It's looked at the video, and it's already sort of has a model in its mind of its mind. Oh, I shouldn't talk like that. That's scary, isn't it? It already has a model that it's working from, and it's then able to take all of the high level details, and it's given me a chart for them. And I haven't had to watch a 30-minute video, and sort of here I have all the information I need to know in terms of what the various details are about what's in the video. So very, very powerful again. So this example is a little bit, maybe childish, but it's all about being able to take, big chunks of information and filter them down, and get the details from it. I think it's really powerful.
Phil, I think it's telling you should buy you should buy the new car. I think, the
I'll have a
Copilot
word
knows.
with Glenn, and we'll see what we can do. All
Looks
right.
good to me. Mhm.
Okay. So last but not least, sort of Outlook also has a lot of these features in it. The summarization and the text generation and things like that. They all work in a very, very similar way. Um, One of the things that I think is more powerful than even the generation, which is fantastic, particularly when it gels well with the other parts of the system. So when I talk about the marketing there, when it gels with the journeys, and it gels with the email creation. So let's have a look at got a big uh, Excel sheet here. It's another thousands and thousands of lines, and this is about call data. Now, I'm not actually interested necessarily in the call data, but what I am interested in is illustrating if I ask a question, and before I hit enter, I want to just sort of drill into what I've put on the screen here. Is nowhere on here does this say September 2015 as a single field, and nowhere on here, I think, does it say I've got as the average percentage of calls, and I've misspelled deliberately, I mean partially deliberately, abandoned before 60 seconds before September 2015. And it doesn't anywhere on here say September 2015. It says SEP 2015. But I'm able to hit the button and it's able to drill through this data. And because it's built up a reasonable model of what is in the data, it's able to give me an answer that makes sense and is also accurate. Um, we'll wait for it to come through, and I think it's 18%. And it's picked that up from my relatively nonsense, my misspelt, piece of data. So it allows you to give you these insights. So I can ask for additional insights, and it'll go away and it'll look at the service level, and it'll analyze the data and give me hopefully something relatively useful that sort of there you go, an average service level. The service level is obviously better on a Saturday than it is on a Friday. And so you can drill into that and you can look at your data and hopefully bring you some level of meaning from otherwise, incomprehensible levels of data. And we got a last but not least on the spreadsheet front. This is a bunch of information about passengers coming going from a train station. And again, it's worthwhile. I'm going to deliberately apply some pretty lousy spelling. And it's a bar chart of entries, and instead of entries and exits, which is what it says in there, I've misspelt, and I've misspelt station, I've misspelt group as well. And let's see how it handles it. And, spoiler alert, it handles it very well. The hundreds of rows of data, there's not as much data in here, so it's a little bit quicker getting around to it. It'll give me this information and it'll chart it for me. And it doesn't just chart it for and give me a chart, it'll give me a little bit of text and explain what it's in there. And if I add that to a new sheet, then here is the data that it's pulled together without me having to come up with pivot tables or anything like that. And now I have a little bit more additional understanding. So, if this was my data and I knew more about it and I really wanted to get stuff out of it, then you can see how Copilot would prove to be very, very powerful and able to really, sort of bring to the fore ideas, and you can quiz it and it comes back to that whole thing, Todd, doesn't it? It's your Copilot, you're the boss, but great. If it can, give you 80% of the answer and you apply that final 20%, make it sharp, then, hopefully it's really powerful.
Absolutely, yeah, and then the fact I can interact with these big volumes of data, just by natural language, asking questions the way that I think of it, that's really powerful stuff. That's pretty amazing actually. So, okay, so I think we need to wrap things up. So we're past top of the hour. Hopefully, you can tell we love this stuff. We love to help our nonprofit partners make the most of it and make their job a little bit easier. If there's anything here that you have questions on or just want to dive in deeper, we'd love to chat with you. So, my email is up there, or you can hit the contact form in our website. But given that we're past time, I'll try and wrap it up. So, thank you, Phil, for making my life at Contoso Cares so much better and make us more successful. And
Yeah.
and thank everyone for your time today.
Yeah. Thanks very much, everybody.